Here's what happened. You wake up, you have the oh shit moment that hits. It could be the message you get from someone that causes it, this feeling of overwhelm that just bubbles up. And it happens because you realize how much you got to get done in the day and all the responsibilities for today. The other one could be a convo that you have with your partner. This might be the time in the morning where you can connect before getting into it for building the business and all these other responsibilities you got to deal with. And there might be things around the house or things that you haven't done yet. And so that comes up in the combo that can make this cause the overwhelm to build up. Or this one hits me recently, is that I forgot to go to the grocery store the night before. And so I wake up in the morning and I realize I don't have any food for breakfast. And so during the time where I could be the most creative in the business and put in a lot of effort and work for effort, I have to go to the grocery store, get some food, come back, make my breakfast, and then get the day started. And already then I feel overwhelmed. So there are a lot of ways that your morning can get thrown off. And there's probably a few that are coming up for you right now. And where I think we can get into trouble is trying to put a lot of energy and effort towards creating a space where every day we're going to have this time for us and our morning routine. Because it can be really exhausting to try to protect that space from all the challenges that can come with building the business and as a result, the energy, like I think about it, what comes with the territory for building the business is already a lot of extra stress that can happen as you're building this thing and overwhelm. So where I think it's better put for energy is to be adaptable to what's going on in the morning. Your ability to adapt, to be flexible, I think that can be really helpful so that you don't completely lose the day and feel like you can't win the day back. And so I want to talk about how to bounce back fast after an overwhelming morning. This is Make Burnout Extinct. I'm Robert David Weeks. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I know you could be doing a bunch of different stuff, a lot of distractions that are out there, and a lot of places you can put your time and your energy. So let's get present, focused in for today. I know you've had a lot of shit and challenges you've been dealing with, a lot coming up that could be coming up in the business right now. That's why you're here. And then there could be a lot of those challenges that are going to happen right after this. So we're going to do a deep inhale through the nose, and then we're going to release out through the mouth. So here we go. Deep inhale. And then you can even stretch it out. Even let it out a little bit more. There we go. Let's get one more. So yeah, you can stretch if you want. You can yawn, sigh, whatever you're feeling is right now. So here we go. Deep inhale. And then release. All right, there we go. Welcome back. And then if you're new here, welcome. If you haven't done it yet, you can subscribe and follow the show for the latest episodes. I got a few commitments for you I want to get into. First one is to continue to grow this show. So if you haven't done it yet, by subscribing and following the show, it helps to honor that commitment. It's been wild to see the growth already since the launch over 8 months ago. And really grateful for the support. It wouldn't be possible without your support. And for this movement that's been built around this one mission to make burnout extinct. The second one I have for you for commitment is to be honest with you, to set the expectations for what to prepare for in making burnout extinct for your life. And as you're building this business, it can be hard sometimes to think that this is possible. And so I want to make sure you know that it absolutely is possible for you to listen to the signals from your body, to recognize the changes that have to happen in your behavior and your habits, and then make those changes and move towards making burnout extinct. So for me, with being honest, I want to share with you from my own personal experience of making burnout extinct. Last time I hit my burnout was back in 2018 after the social media conference where I had 500 people come together. I was mentally, physically exhausted, done. One of my main reasons for hitting my burnout after that event was the amount of lying that I was doing, leading up, lying to my team, lying to the community, lying of how I felt physically and mentally. I was just done. And so that's why honesty is such an important value of mine. I believe it's so important in building this business to have honesty be a part of that, because inevitably your body is going to force you to stop if you don't. That's what I've realized in my own personal experience, that the body's going to remember. And then with honesty, it's not just about sharing with you just the results, which is feeling the aliveness of life, feeling more energized in your day and feeling like this excitement of making the hard decisions and being able to move through that and move to these new levels of success for the business and then your overall quality of life. It's all of that, or it's all of that as well as putting in the reps behind the scenes. When people aren't watching, showing up for yourself for these habits and building that trust within yourself. And then when you get off track with habits that are there to energize you, honoring all the different emotions that can come up, the overwhelm, the anger, the guilt, all this stuff, honoring that, and then being able to continue to show up and put the reps in and not stay stuck either. So thank you for being here, for being a part of movement. Let's get into it for today. How to bounce back fast after an overwhelming morning. So you have maybe one or two situations that are coming up for you recently where you felt that, with it feeling like an overwhelming morning. It may be today. You might be feeling like it's an overwhelming morning. And so you're like, give me the solution here for what I can use for how to bounce back fast. So I'm going to do this in two parts. I'll share with you immediately short-term what you can focus on, and then long-term what to remember and reflect on each time this happens, because it won't be the last time it happens. But I'll start with the short-term, what you can do, and then I'll tie it back at the end for how this connects back to burnout, because I did say fast, so let me get right to it so you know what to do. The first one is interrupting the pattern. So you don't want to think your way out of this, because you can go down these tornado thoughts that you're probably feeling right now. The fuck, how am I going to get through this day? I have so much stuff to do. This isn't going to work out how I wanted it to work out. And that can create a lot of body sensations to bubble up, the overwhelm that can come up, some stress to start to build up because you're now having to get after it for this day, and you have all these unknowns that are starting to pop up of how this day could look. So that could be coming up. Trying to think of what else for feelings that could be popping up. Those are the ones that right now. So all of that can then cause these tornado thoughts to happen. And that is where you have to get back into the present moment and deal with what's going on right here and right now. And so movement is a great way to come back to being present, as well as connecting back to your body, getting out of, so it's not just staying up in the mind, but moving to the rest of the body. And when you can do that, it feels like this trap door. You imagine like a trap door opening, or even the dam opening and the water flooding down to the rest of the body. Imagining not the water, but imagine those thoughts flooding down to the rest of the body. They then can become not as loud. They can quiet for those thoughts when you can connect back to the rest of your body. So then you can create clarity for your next action to take and get unstuck from the overwhelming sensations right now you're feeling, and then move forward. So movement helps with this, and there's different ways you can do this for techniques that I'll share. But with movement, what it does is it literally produces energy in the body. And how I learned that was from Dr. Casey Means, and then Callie Means in the book Good Energy. Understanding how that works for the body blew my mind, of like, this is a way to channel energy, and then you can channel that energy into the challenge you're dealing with for this overwhelming morning. So 2 techniques you can come back to. I've talked about them before: push start technique, and then the at least technique. They have their own separate episodes you can go to. So with the push start technique, it's an activity you can do either right after, I was thinking like right after you get out of bed. It could be done even the night before, but it's a way for your body to feel energized for at least 10 seconds. And so you can do like dancing. You can go for like 10 seconds of dancing, stretching. I'm trying to think of what else you could do. You could do push-ups, jumping jacks, but anything that moves your body. And what happens is you're doing it at a point where you may not feel like doing this. So it reminds the body of 2 things. One, that you can do things even when you don't feel like it. And that could happen, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed. Just start with the push start technique, get started with building momentum. And what happens is then it can be a way for the body to release then dopamine, the internal reward, because you just, by doing the activity and putting the reps in for it, what happens is you remind your body that you can do things even when you don't feel like it. Then the combo, this is where you get the body can release then dopamine, the internal reward, is by celebrating. Then you celebrate. That's another habit you add on to the push start, because you've built the momentum. Then when you celebrate, it anchors it in for the feeling of you want more of this. And so how you can physically celebrate is like, how I do it is I tap both my shoulders, raise my arms up, and I go, yeah, like this. How I started was like, woo, like that. and I'll scream as I score a touchdown or a goal. I'm not going to do that for you right here. I'll save you that. But you can even do a head nod, but something that reminds the body of like, you just did this. And then your confidence can expand because you showed up, you put the rep in even when you didn't feel like it. So all of that then becomes a moment where clarity can form and you can take your next action for either something you've pushed off, maybe a message you have to send out to someone. It could be creating then a small win for you so they can build the momentum. So one work task, you get that done. Something that's going to support you for making the day feel like a win and get that done. So that's one way to go about it. The other way is the at least technique. And so this is telling yourself, at least I'm going to go outside for a 5-minute walk before my next work task. So you're feeling overwhelmed in the morning, your mind, you're going down those tornado thoughts. You need a way to reset your mind. And that can be helpful by getting outside and changing your environment. The environment you're in, get the hell out of it because you can feel like you're in a box. Sometimes I can get stuck in working inside for a long time. I remember seeing the stat where on average an American spends over 90% of their time indoors. And so for me, when I documented my time, I realized I was spending more than 90% indoors. So it can be easy for me to fall back into that as a habit. And so by changing my environment, getting outside, going for a walk, you are creating movement, but then you get a whole new change of environment, and that creates a whole new perspective on the challenges that you're dealing with in the day. And so then with something new, because that's variety, you're then able to be even more present. And that is where clarity can form way easier for, figuring out the solution to getting a win for the day. Figuring out what the task is, the message the guy gets sent out. What do you have to do to then make sure that you feel like this day is a win, and then be able to do it afterwards, after you come back after the 5 minutes. But the at least technique, I mean, that's been so helpful because with the tornado thoughts that can happen, what's happening in your body is your body is not then your body's getting into a stress response because something new has happened for this morning. It's caused it to feel overwhelming. And so that stress then bubbles up and it's creating these open stress loops. And so if those open stress loops build and there's no way that you're closing those stress loops, that is where you can feel defeated in your day. That is where you can stay stuck in the day. That is where you look back on your day and be like, what the fuck did I get done today? I was just bouncing from one thing to the next, just trying to get by. And I feel like I really didn't make any momentum towards what I'm building in the business and then what I'm building with my quality of life. And so it could be like just trying to stay, above water is that feeling of just like trying to survive the day. And I don't want that for you. You can absolutely bounce back fast after an overwhelming morning and get after it and feel like you're building that momentum. So that is another way, is the at least technique to come back into that. Other ways that you can connect back to the body is a body scan. Like simply a body scan of going through and connecting back to your body is helpful, especially if you notice a lot of pressure and tension that builds up in the body. So as an entrepreneur, it can be easy to try to suppress these feelings that can come up. But that is where I feel you can then go through your day with like this emptiness inside. And that doesn't feel super exciting and doesn't feel like you're really able to truly enjoy your life. And I want to enjoy as I build. I want to be able to create both. It may not happen all the time together, but I want to continue to come back to enjoying what I'm doing and building. And it can be hard in those really hard days in building this business where you have a lot of things that are coming up, a lot of overwhelm, a lot of this pain that can be bubbling up. So it's realizing in that moment to honor all of that pain, honor the pain, honor the sensations, listen to your body. Because what's going on is your body's communicating to you. So it's telling you what are the changes in your behavior and your habits that need to be made in order to move through this of what you're dealing with so that you can continue to move towards making burnout extinct and not have that burnout beast drag you back to your old ways and your old patterns. And you get into this loop where you stay stuck because that's exhausting. And that is where then over time, that leads you to one-way ticket to hitting burnout. I don't want you to take that ticket and head down that way. I don't want that for you. So coming back to reconnection with the body scan is helpful where you can notice the pressures and the tension, and you'll get a message usually in that of what is the action that you get to take afterwards. Because when you're connecting, let's say if it's in the stomach, that's where I notice a lot of my pressure, my tension. If I connect back to that, usually I've been feeling it recently in my left side. Usually there's like something that I'm scared of that comes up. So I'm scared that I'm not going to be able to get certain tasks done in my day. Okay, well, why don't I then make those tasks the first things I get done now that I'm present in my day and I'm not feeling that overwhelming sensations are being able to release out of the body? Let me get those done. So then it feels like a win and I'm moving towards I'm moving with momentum, or building that momentum and moving towards the vision I have for this business, for my overall quality of life. Let me get that done. Okay, that's the message of the fear. Maybe the other one is dealing with my partner. Like, oh, I felt like I didn't leave it right for our conversation. Let me make sure I send her a text message to let her know, hey, I really want to continue to talk about this, but right now I'm focused on work and what I got going on. That could be something for you. But it gives you these signals and these messages to take on. But a lot of times it's just trying to ignore it and suppress it. And just, it can feel, again, that emptiness of just like moving through your day. You're getting confused as to these messages of what your body's trying to tell you, to the point where you just ignore everything. And eventually your body's going to inevitably force you to stop to listen. And that's where you can go towards that one-way ticket to hitting burnout. So body scan is another one. Having some time to take deep breaths in, to breathe through your nose consciously and then breathe out through your mouth. And so that you can breathe instead of doing the shallow breathing up here in the chest. If you notice that that's happening, because that happens when you're scared. Like I all those moments where I feel scared, I'm having that happen where I'm breathing up in my chest, shallow breathing. And you think back, I learned this from Eric Edmeades, someone I learned a lot about with speaking, where he talks about, imagine you're in the jungle and you have a tiger that comes by that hasn't noticed you yet. How are you going to breathe? You're going to breathe shallow. And so it's because there's fear that's there. And you can take that into then your day with these overwhelming mornings of thinking of it as like a tiger, this perceived threat that you're having to deal with. And so you have the shallow breathing, and that can cause you to stay stuck. And so where you can do the conscious deep breaths in, and there's different techniques you can try out. You can just like look at YouTube and check out a free video for it. But breathe in through your nose and then breathe out through your mouth is a way you can do it. And just a deep breath in. And what happens is then when you can bring your breath back down to your stomach, that's where you can feel present, The overwhelming sensations don't feel as intense. The stress doesn't feel as intense, and that's where clarity can form. And it doesn't mean that the stress and the overwhelm aren't still going to be there. They may not completely go away, but what you want to do with each one of these ways of connecting back to your body is create a moment of clarity of what is the action to take here to move forward and build momentum. What is that action? The action might be to be present and map out what you got to get done in the day. Maybe I go back to like, what are the 3 main tasks to get done in the day? It might be focused on, you have to send this message out that you've been putting off for days. It could be you got to prepare for this workshop, prepare to this presentation. Whatever that is for you, there's clarity that's going to form, and then you put the rep in. And you'll put the rep in, you'll make the day a win, and then you build momentum. And it comes back to anytime you put the rep in for the work task for something you want, celebrate it. Celebrate the rep, make that the habit, because what that reminds the body, as I said, is that it reminds the body you want more of this, which is exciting for them, the momentum. You feel more energized. You can channel that. And then it's a way for the body to release release dopamine, the internal reward that reinforces this is something you want. And then that momentum gets really exciting for where that can lead you, for these new doorways of possibilities for the business, and then for your overall quality of life. And that comes back to, with movement as a recap, remembering that movement is a way that you can literally produce energy. You channel that energy. You're able to get present, connected back to your body. You can listen to the signals your body is telling you, get the message in the signal, and then create the clarity for yourself to take the next action to get the hell out of this feeling of overwhelm in the morning, and to bounce back fast and then get back to being present and building that momentum, because it can happen real quick. I've noticed that in my own days, it can switch, where then by the end of the day, you want to make sure at the end of the day, you do feel like it's a win. Not all days are like that. You have those hard days where it can feel really defeating, but you want to do the best that you can to make the days feel like a win. And so that's where then the push start can be helpful at the end of the night right before going to bed, do that technique so that you can feel like you feel energized instead of feeling defeated and sleeping on that energy. And you can, again, it's the trying an activity for at least 10 seconds for the body that is energizing for the body, that's dancing, stretching, quick push-ups. But you can do that right before going to bed to reinforce that today was a win and that you felt energized. Because for staying in the game longer as you're building the business, it really is about just continuing to feel like there's momentum here and growth that's happening in the business and finding all these different ways to create these wins so that you can continue to stay consistent in what you're doing and what you're building and continue to move forward. And what I want to remind you is that where you start in all of this isn't going to be where you end up. And so whatever phase that you're in right now for how you're feeling and what you're dealing with, it is temporary. And it's reminding you of that. It's 3 things that I can tell myself during these really intense days that can feel overwhelming for the morning. One, that is natural. It is natural for you to have the overwhelming mornings because life happens, unexpected challenges are going to come your way, especially as an entrepreneur building your business. I mean, man, it's so easy for that to happen. And so the second is reminding yourself it's temporary. What you're dealing with is temporary here. It's being flexible with what's going on in your day, being flexible with the situation that you're having to deal with in that morning, and then being able to adapt and realize that you can bounce back. And so remembering it's temporary and that you're going to be able to move through this. And then the other one is reminding yourself that you are safe. Always coming back to your body if you are safe. And that's where the movement as a habit helps you to remind your body that you are safe. It creates trust with your body. It's a way to connect back and communicate with your body. And when you can put a lot of reps in for that over time, it reinforces this trust that then expands the confidence for you that you will handle any unexpected challenges that are going to come your way. And with more repetition, it becomes more familiar for your body that there's that trust there. And so being able to come back to that as a burnout proof habit will be really helpful for you to bounce back fast after an overwhelming morning. And what I want to remind you is that I absolutely believe in you. If you haven't heard that yet today, you have the capabilities as a human being to listen to your body, listen to those signals, interpret those signals, and realize that you're going to make mistakes. You're going to get off track. You may misinterpret what it is you need in that moment. And it's reminding yourself that you'll get the lesson from the mistake and then let go of the mistake and continue to move forward and put the reps in and get out of this overwhelming morning and bounce back fast. It's focusing on your best. I know it could feel like, I feel like it's gotten to the point where it's a cliche of like, focus on your best. Don't focus on perfection. But it's reminding you that perfection doesn't exist. Your best exists. And tap into that. Tap into this reservoir of courage that's within you to move forward and to change the pattern that you're dealing with right now. But absolutely, I believe in you. You have the capabilities to make this happen, and you got this.